Do you think taxi drivers double and triple the price when they see you coming? Don't let the Gringo Tax mess up your coins. In this video, you'll learn a few Spanish phrases and tips that just might help you avoid overpaying for taxi rides. And you'll learn a few helpful alternatives. So, what is the Gringo Tax anyway? It's when taxi drivers charge foreigners more than they charge locals for the exact same service. They assume you don't know the local prices and you can pay extra. This usually happens in places where there are no fixed prices, like in taxis that don't have meters, especially in areas where there are a lot of tourists or expats and immigrants. The gringo tax means you're paying double, triple, or even more than the locals are paying for the same exact taxi ride. So, specifically talking about taxis, how can we avoid this? First, you need to know the local rates beforehand. This is one of the best ways to protect yourself from the gringo tax. Know the cost before you even approach the driver, and here's how. Ask the locals. If you're staying in an Airbnb, a hostel, or a hotel, ask the staff what is the typical fare for wherever you need to go. Or if you already live there in the city, then ask other expats and immigrants, or ask your neighbors, or ask the person at your local cafe or restaurant or corner store. They should know most of the typical fares. You can also ask in the expat Facebook groups in your area, and don't forget to check the old posts. Having an idea about the cost before you even approach the driver is going to help you understand if you're being overcharged or not. And if you'd like to support my channel, please hit the like button. Thank you. Okay, here's the next tip. Negotiate the price before you step foot in the taxi. Don't ever get in the taxi without negotiating a price beforehand. Because what if you decide that, okay, I don't like this price. I know you're overcharging me. What are you going to do? Just get out on the side of the road? You don't know the city that well? Or you're going to walk all the way back to your hotel or your house? Because once you're inside the taxi, the driver has the upper hand. It's much harder to negotiate with the driver once you're already in the car. So here's a suggestion. When you approach the taxi driver, make sure that you're nice and friendly and try to use a few Spanish words. Greet the driver like this. Hola, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. A little kindness goes a long way. So clearly explain where you want to go. Use a simple statement like this. Voy a, and then the place. Voy a la tienda. Voy a la playa. You can grab a free summary of these simple phrases and all of the concepts in this video in a link in the description below. Then you want to ask how much the driver charges. You would ask, ¿Cuánto cobra? ¿Cuánto cobra? It's a simple and polite way to ask the driver how much he or she charges. Now, the driver will likely tell you the price in Spanish, but a lot of taxi drivers, especially in areas where there are a lot of expats, immigrants, and tourists, they can tell you the price in English. But if they respond in Spanish and it's hard for you to understand numbers in Spanish, you can do this. Say despacio, despacio. That means slowly, as in slow down. You can also use hand gestures. Hold up the numbers on your fingers, or you can use your phone calculator. Type the number you think you heard and show it to the driver. Sometimes the driver will already have their phone calculator out to show you the price. If you're more advanced, repeat the number back to the driver to confirm what you heard. If the price seems fair and matches what you've already researched, then you're good to go. But if it feels too high, don't hesitate to walk away if the price seems unfair. In some Latin American countries, taxi drivers expect for you to negotiate. It's very common. Sometimes they'll quote you a crazy high price just to test you to see what you're going to do. So if it sounds too high, you can say, Caro, gracias, and then step away and look for another taxi. Some drivers will lower the price and others will just let you walk away. The first time you do this, you might feel a little awkward just walking away, but the more you do it, you'll get comfortable with it. So like anything else, it just takes a little bit of practice. Using a few simple Spanish words and phrases shows that you're making the effort to speak the language, and that could deter a taxi driver from overcharging you. Some of them, not all of them. Okay, and here's the last tip. Consider other alternatives. If you're in a city where taxi drivers are notorious for overcharging foreigners, then you might want to consider one of these options. Take an Uber or a local service like Uber in your city. The prices are set and fixed, and it doesn't matter where you come from. If you're local or if you're a foreigner, the prices are the same for everybody. They're based on the distance and the traffic conditions. So, with Uber or a service like Uber, you don't have to deal with that stress of negotiating with a driver. Your city or town might also have a crew of trustworthy private drivers. So you can ask other expats and immigrants or Spanish speaking locals if they can recommend a trustworthy driver for you. You could also take public transportation. Some of the buses and the metro systems can be reliable and affordable. And if you don't want to take public transportation, depending on where you're going, you could just walk or bicycle around the city. This is a fantastic way to explore your town or your neighborhood. I want to know if you've ever got hit with the Gringo tax. Tell me about it in the comments below. And if you thought this was solid, practical advice, please consider hitting the like button and tell a friend who might be getting hit with that Gringo tax around town about my channel. Hasta luego.